We're talking about the steps in resolving conflict, and we've now talked about the first two steps. Start with respect and create a pool of shared understanding. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about the third step, search for solutions. We start step 3 by asking what is most important to each person. What needs need to be met in order for them to feel good about a solution? Taking this step allows you to be much more flexible as you look for solutions. You don't get hung up on arguing about this solution versus that solution because you're really looking at the deeper needs that need to be realized before you come up with a solution. In truth, unmet needs are often underneath unresolved conflict. Identifying these deeper needs makes it much easier to find solution. Let me give you some examples of what I mean by deeper needs. One person might say, I have a need to be understood, or a need for support, or need to feel loved or cared for, or I need space or autonomy, or need control, or there's a need for excitement and variety, a need to feel significant, and so on. And by the way, don't be limited by this list. If you pause and ask yourself after you've created a pool of shared understanding, if you have deeper needs that have been driving the conflict, you'll be able to identify them. You may even well identify them during your searching for a pool of shared understanding. Let me give you an example, though, of what I'm talking about. A couple is arguing about going out on a Friday night. She wants to go dancing. He'd like to just put on a movie and relax at home. Of course, by building a pool of shared understanding, they're already most of the way there. They're each beginning to understand what's deeper and more important to the other. So they may continue that process in step 3. Wife thinks about her needs, what is most important to her, and she says, I really need some fun in my life. Things can seem so boring and mundane. I need some excitement. Notice how identifying this need is bigger than what the couple decides to do tonight. Furthermore, there are lots of ways of meeting the need for more fun and excitement besides going dancing. And this doesn't mean she doesn't want to go dancing, but by being aware of the need, the wife is able to take greater responsibility, and the two of them are able to be more creative in helping her get what she wants. In my example, the husband may say, it's been such a stressful day for me. I've been around people and commotion all day. I just need a little quiet time and to do something to help me calm down. Well, both of these needs are very valid, and can you see how we get hung up arguing about solutions because we don't have insight into what is behind, what is more important, and behind what we're looking for? Can this couple work together to come up with a solution or solutions that will meet the needs of both of them? Understanding what's important to each of them makes this easier to do. There are more options now available for them. Here's a little deeper example. John goes on a week-long hunting trip with his buddies every year. He's done this their whole marriage. This year, Kathy's really complaining. Do you have to go? I need you. The kids complain that you're gone, and they've got some really big events coming up this week. It's selfish of you to go now. Of course, if they've started building their pool of shared understanding, then they've talked this through to some deeper insight into one another's point of view, which is going to make it easier and more possible to resolve the issue. But let's look at the deeper needs that may be going on for both of them. John could identify his need for connection with male friends. This bonding is important to him. He may also need some time and space away from his routine to relax and refresh himself. Maybe he longs for some time in the mountains. Of course, Kathy's needs are just as important. Perhaps she's feeling lonely and unimportant in their relationship. She's jealous of John's time with his buddies. He isn't giving her the same quality time. She wants to know that she matters to him in the same way that his buddies matter. Perhaps another need is to feel more partnership in parenting. Seems to her like John leaves a lot of it up to her. She's feeling some resentment about that. Again, I hope you can see how building a pool of shared understanding can help this couple get to a much deeper level of communication so that they can even talk about more vulnerable issues such as these. However, if these needs have not been made explicit, then step 3 is the time to do so. Kathy needs to be able to tell John about her needs. John needs to be able to tell Kathy about his needs. The reason is that any solutions need to help both partners meet their needs. Once needs are better understood, the next step in step 3 is to begin brainstorming solutions. Together, they need to generate options, get as many options, in fact, out on the table as possible. They don't judge or criticize any of these options, just come up with a number of them. Kathy might say, well, you could cancel your trip with your friends. Okay, that's one of the options. John doesn't criticize it, or he doesn't get sidetracked into arguing about this option. They continue to work together to generate as many as they can come up with. Perhaps John, as he hears Kathy's deeper concerns, suggests an option that they find a way for the two of us. Let's both of us get together on our own retreat in the next little while, and you can plan it. Well, as you can tell, there are many possible options which are not only designed to be a solution to the first initial conflict that they were talking about, but to help each other meet their deeper needs. Here are a few other options that they could put on the table. John cancels his trip. We get away for a long weekend without the kids. John gets more involved in the kids' homework. We take more time to connect in the evenings by talking after the kids are in bed. Kathy gets a spa treatment once John gets home if he goes on his trip, and so on. Well, the final step of the process, so this is the third step of step 3. The final step in this process is to agree upon solutions. So remember, we've talked about what are the deeper needs of both parties, brainstorm solutions, and now we agree upon solutions that both of us can support, which makes it so it's not zero sum. It's not about choosing a single option, go or don't go on the trip, or go dancing and stay home and watch a movie on a Friday evening. They look over their entire list of options and select those which best meet the needs of each of them and which they can both support. And it doesn't mean that each of them loves every option that they choose. John might be quite insistent on going on his trip, but he's also willing to listen to Kathy and understand and do a better job of meeting her need to know that she matters to him. However, if in the end they both can't support a particular option, then that option is dropped. Well, this process allows a couple to look at their conflict from a 30,000-foot view rather than getting lost in the weeds and arguing about the details of their disagreement. They're understanding one another, they're supporting one another, they're searching for solutions that meet their deeper needs and coming up with agreements that they can both support. Now their relationship is beginning to feel more win-win. They're working together rather than fighting against each other to get what they want. Well, I hope you see how this process helps those unresolvable conflicts. From one perspective, an issue may be unresolvable, like where we live or where we attend church and so on. But as you learn the process of dialogue, you begin to see how you can work together. A wife chooses to go to church with the kids and her husband stays home. He supports her in going. Maybe he fixes a meal while she's gone. Perhaps he respects the time that she dedicates to teaching a Sunday school class. Or a husband agrees to live in a particular city because it's closer to his wife's family. This wouldn't have been his first choice, but he's willing to do it because he knows that it's really important to his wife and because his wife understands his need to get away to the mountains a few times a year, something really important to him. The husband also makes it clear that what's important to him is that their own family not be subsumed by her extended family, but that they have their own traditions and routines that don't include the extended family. So they make a lot of decisions. You can see how they have to do some giving and taking, even compromising on both parts, always aware that they want to meet as many possible needs of each one of them as possible. Well, we've now talked about all 3 steps in resolving conflict. Start with respect, create a pool of shared understanding, and search for solutions. Know that the process works for big or little conflicts. In small conflicts, it isn't quite as formal, but the principles are the same. If you understand the basic concepts and remember to start with respect, build shared understanding, and then search for solutions that meet as many needs as possible, you're on your way. We're now ready to move to the final section of the program on shared vision, a really fun part of the program.